He's Scott Dixon, IndyCar champion. He retweeted me. I just said something about, because, we've been talking about AI, data, simulations, how it affects F1. And we haven't figured it out yet. Nobody's figured it out yet. I mean, we want the technology to know that someone won qualifying, let's say, or a race by like 100th of a second, something you can't see. But we don't want these weird VAR lines, whatever they're called in soccer, where it's like, we don't need that. It looked like the guy wasn't offside or was offside. Let's just go with that. We haven't figured that out. Anyway, I think he must have liked or disliked whatever I said, but he tried to get a bigger audience for it. So I was pleased about that. Less of a big deal, except for the ladies. For the ladies of the 90s, was Antonio Sabato Jr., I think, tweeted something of mine. And you would not know him, probably. But in the 90s, he was like in General Hospital, like, all the ladies loved this guy. I tell you, I'm sure he's still good looking and doing well, but I just thought that was funny. All right, you ready to go, son?
I'm ready to go.
Hello, welcome to Hard Compound, the American take on Formula One. Just finished up with Belgian Grand Prix. Spa, one of the oldest courses in F1. As far as the race goes, some good, some bad. A lot of it we couldn't see because, for whatever reason, F1 TV, Sky Sports, they're determined not to show us anything going on track unless it's like the first 2, 3, 4 cars. Okay, Patrick, who gets the flowers for the Belgian Grand Prix?
Yeah, I gotta say, maybe it can happen in later discussion, but yeah, you're right. It is kind of annoying constantly being forced to only watch the top 4 drivers, going around. There's a lot of other cool things happening.
There is.
A lot of other battles going on. I mean, I'm loving Racing Bulls battles. Those are crazy and fun.
Most fun team, I think.
Tons of fun things going on, I think, throughout the weekend. And, after a few races off or off the top of the podium and having some kind of bad luck issues, I think flowers got to go to Kimi this week. I mean, kid got another win, was fastest the whole weekend, outqualified his teammate, obviously, but even outqualified kind of a surging Max and Lando and Charles. All of them had, I think, on any other day, they would have thought, oh, that's pole. But Kimi outqualified him by like 0.3 or something like that. Kind of insane. And then he just kind of went on, and he didn't blow away the field, but you were convinced he was going to win.
Yeah, it was going to take a lot.
After turn 4, basically. Once he got past Max again.
Well, and later, like after that virtual safety car, which we'll never know why, because what goes on track, what happens on track stays on track. F1 TV's guy doesn't want to let us know what's happening elsewhere. But it was pretty tough it was going to be a tough one for Kimi to lose.
Yeah, but I thought he did great. I thought a lot of those other drivers in the top, 5, 6 did really well. Leclerc, we were kind of, I don't want to say bad-mouthing him, but kind of being real about how he was doing throughout the season. And then last 2 races, it's a win and close to another win, but P2. I mean, looks like he's back on track in that Ferrari.
I mean, we've said this should be his team, not Lewis's, and Lewis is looking like it's his team. But the last couple of weeks, Charles has put up a fight.
Yeah, so that's good to see. And then, even Max is grumpy, and I think he's going to stay grumpy for the rest of the season, maybe the rest of his career. I don't really know. But, even a grumpy Max got a lot out of that Red Bull and looked pretty good. So I think, we have a lot of good stuff to watch the front, but that doesn't, dismiss a lot of the other good stuff that happens further back.
And with Northern Europeans, you can never tell. I mean, he could be a winsome fellow for all we know. He could be joyous, but he's Northern European, so I can never tell if he really is grumpy or if he's having a good day. It's always hard to tell. This was a unique race, and, it's always hard to predict the future. But I'm not sure we saw this one coming because this race was heavily decided by battery power and software glitches. And, you know, in the old days, that was not a thing. But in F1 in 2026, software glitches and battery power, this is I'm like, what am I watching an iPhone? But now the other big story was, this is the revenge of the youth. You talked about this before where outside of Lewis, who's pretty amazing, these new guys, it's the younger guys that seem to have, despite all the complaining from Max, Carlos Sainz, some of the old guys, a lot of old fans, these younger drivers, it's like, oh, there's software, there's battery I got to manage, there's the how I drive in the straights with my battery, how I'm connected to my team, all the stuff that's going on. They seem less phased by it. They're adapting well.
Yeah, they all look pretty darn good for the most part. I think they're getting the hang of it and just seems more kind of comfortable and easy for them. I mean, Kimi, for one, is just beating George at every turn. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with George, why he's struggling so much, but definitely Kimi coming into this season, nobody really expected him to be where he is right now. And I think it's just because he seems quicker to and maybe more willing to kind of adapt to this new driving style and what you have to do. But that's sort of similar across the board with young teammates, right? Bortoletto is clearly outperforming Hulkenberg in that Audi, and he just seems more comfortable overall.
Yep.
Colapinto even has seemed to be, over the last several races, a lot more comfortable than Gasly. Gasly doesn't look totally out of it, but it just seems to be sort of the way that things are going. Behrman, looks better than Ocon does. It could be a number of things, but the most sort of obvious of those seems to be the fact that, yeah, they're just more willing to adapt and maybe quicker to adapt to these sort of new cars and the way they have to drive. So,
right. Even Hedger, he had a hell of a race. And no, he's not equal Max or better, but Max usually destroys his teammates and Hedger's hanging. And he has been. So I think there's something to this theory of ours, but it's like these are sort of software baked cars, or battery power, they're deeply connected with their engineers, with their team, and the younger guys intuit this better, adapt to it faster. So, you talked about Kimi and George, though. I don't think there's any sabotage, but is there sabotage? Kimi does look better, but it also seems like Toto favors him, seems, and it seems like he has the better car. Reliability issues, it's, we're 10 races in, that's still a small sample, but dang, you look at the data, it looks like on the straights, Kimi's car is faster than George's.
Yeah, that does seem weird. I think they need to kind of figure out what the heck is going on there, why George is so slow, because he does seem much slower on the straights. I don't know if it's exclusively due to kind of their deployment strategies, battery powered deployment strategies, because obviously that is going to play a major factor in how fast you can go down those straights. But George got swallowed up out of the gates by, everybody else. And Kimi kind of played it safe and smart, it seemed like, at the start of this race. And Max was able to get around him. And then immediately Antonelli just goes and passes him because he has more speed.
Right.
George didn't seem like he was able to do that. Even if he got swallowed up and passed, there was no way he was coming back. So he tried a late lunge and cost himself a shot at finishing the race at all.
Yeah. 18 to 25 points, probably.
Yeah.
You You ever wonder, like, is it because he's so much bigger than Kimi? Is there a tenth of a second on a straight for that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they do have to all the cars have to be within, weight specs. So it's weird. I don't know why they would have an issue. It seems like it stemmed from or has been known for quite a bit of time at this point that he has this issue. So it seems weird that they haven't resolved it yet, if it's something that they can resolve. So it's a little confusing, unclear. Could be sabotage. It would be good if it was sabotage.
That would be fun.
I think we need a little.
We do. F1's too corporate. It's like some big. It's like working at Google or Apple. It's a software-based company.
If Kimi turns out to be Tanya Harding, I mean, look, I'd be okay with that. So
funny. I mean, and Kimi, but damn though, he's got, what is it, 6? I mean, months ago I said, crazy prediction, he's going to get to 10 before Oscar, before Charles. And I mean, he's edging closer. I should have put some big money down on that bet. I don't know if such a bet existed, but
Leclerc, because he got his 9th last race out. That one is
Oscar at
a little touch and go. Oscar McLaren doesn't seem likely.
Yeah.
If McLaren wins, it seems more like it's coming from Lando. He just seems to be faster generally. Unfortunately, he had to take a big old grid penalty for his new power unit in this race, but he looked pretty quick in this race, and Oscar just was sort of meandering along as McLaren has done all season, it seems like.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I mean, really, since about this time last year was when Lando sort of started asserting himself at the McLaren team, and he hasn't looked back. Oscar's been struggling a bit, but the whole McLaren team this year, it's just been odd the way they've sort of flailed around. What did you think of we talked about the start. We talked about George getting swallowed up, but Lewis got a penalty. Charles did not. Now, I thought the stewards were right in getting Lewis. Lewis is a dick. Nobody's better at this than getting the elbows out, knocking the guy out without, and it's just on the edge, like, oh, was that a racing incident or not? Nobody is better at that than Lewis Hamilton. And even though, like, I always feel like there should be much more leniency in lap 1 and that sort of crowd right after the start, but I don't know. There seemed to be a mild controversy that Lewis got a penalty and later on Charles did not.
Yeah, I don't know about controversy, but I don't think either one of them should have been penalized. I don't know. I think people are really a little too worried about, I shouldn't say they're too worried about any kind of contact, but like, you got 22 cars on a track.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to run out of room.
Right.
And you're going to touch. And sometimes it sends the car flying. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. But I don't think either one was malicious. And I don't think that, like, when I watched Lewis, I immediately thought, oh, there's no chance he gets a penalty. Because he was well ahead of George at the turn. He was braking well before George to make the turn. And at no point did he ever open up the steering wheel. He was always turning to the right. And George came across and collided. I think, unfortunately for George, that ended his race. But I don't think Lewis really did anything wrong. He didn't back out, but I don't think, like, he made the corner. Like, why would he back out?
Right. I do want to say, though, I think it could go either way. The stewards could say a penalty or not. I like the fact that stewards penalize in real time rather than 3 weeks later after the race. And I don't think Lewis is malicious. It's just he's hyper competitive. These guys are hyper competitive. It's like, there's a World Cup going on. Someone rushes in and kind of trips the guy. It's not like, hey, I don't like you or your mother. It's like, hey, I'm going to take you out because I can. I think I have a chance to take you out. Why wouldn't I? So that's kind of, my thought.
I mean, I think that's fair. It seemed to me like they only punished Lewis because of the outcome, like because George was stranded essentially in gravel afterwards. But I don't think it was really that bad. It was just like high speed and you touch and you're going around a turn, like you're just spinning off into nowhere.
Yeah, I know Will Buxton, who now does Indy, he was one of those that was sort of saying Lewis gets 5-second penalty because of the outcome, which is George is out of the race, rather than the act. So, which is glib.
Yeah, I felt both of those incidents, the one with Charles and with Lewis, I wouldn't have punished them. I think, both of them were just kind of going into a corner and somebody was trying to go around the outside. And I think they both had the corner. Maybe it was a little, what's a good word? Devious, but like not malicious. And if they have the corner and the inside, well, then the guy going around the outside, like, back the fuck out. Oscar didn't do that, and George didn't do that. Luckily for Oscar, all he got was, a little side pod damage or whatever it was part of the floor or something. Unfortunately for George, he went off. I think that's actually on those two drivers for causing those outcomes.
Okay. A quick look at the standings. Kimi still up front, 204 points. Lewis now back in P2 at 159. So what is that? 45 behind. George, 154. I mean, we expect George to be winning in P1, but he's, in fact, only 5 points out of P2. And you consider, his cars had at least one, reliability issue. We did not finish.
Yeah,
mechanical failure. They got 0 points this race. The fact that he's only 5 behind Lewis, I think, shows just how dominant the Mercedes car is. Then you have Charles, 126. He's a bit further back, but as we said, he's had a couple good weeks in a row. Lando at 103. His teammate Oscar at 92. Max right behind him, though, at 91. Not bad. Nonetheless, George, even, I don't know, we've done 10 races, so the schedule has 12 remaining. I am convinced those final 2 in the Middle East will not happen. That means 10 races remaining. I don't know. Time is running out, don't you think, for George Russell?
I think it is. Yeah. The clock has not struck midnight yet, but it's getting there. He's got to have a turnaround like Lando had last year, I think. At this point, it is hard to see Kimi coming in anything other than, at worst, second. If he finishes a race, 10 races, so we say, 50 points, that's 7 a race or whatever if George is P1. So he makes it up. But that's tough when you're racing your teammate and it hasn't looked like you could handle them the entire season so far. It's going to be a hard turnaround for George to make up, I think.
No, that's a good point. Team standings, Mercedes dominant 358. Ferrari 285, McLaren 195, Red Bull 151, then the steep drop off. Alpine and Racing Bulls tied at 61. Nice. That Ford power unit, first year, Red Bull Ford. Red Bull looks good. Racing Bulls looks good. I think that's impressive. I also think Mercedes appears to be the best, but this is not the dominant Mercedes of the 2010s, where you never saw them. They took off from the front row and that was it. This race was over. We now have, as we've talked about for years now, Formula One is trying to adopt the NFL playbook of sort of creating parity. There's 4, and if there's a safety car, potentially 6 teams that could win a race. I'm not saying finish, win the constructors. That's almost certainly Mercedes, potentially Ferrari. But you've got any race, Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, and maybe Red Bull could win a race, especially with Max. But then, Alpine and Racing Bulls, you have some rain, you have a safety car. That's 6 teams, when before it was basically one team. And maybe some crazy incident, Ferrari would slip in there.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I think it's been a lot more interesting to see these results and the overall parity, right? Where, yes, Mercedes is the best car on the grid, even with the reliability issues. But when they win races, like you said, it's not by the 25 seconds, the 45 seconds. Only 4 drivers didn't get lapped in this race, kind of thing, right? I think Kimi beat Charles by what, 2 seconds this week? I mean, they're not far off the rest of these teams. Over, 44 laps. That's like a 3.5 mile track or something like that, right? So that's a long distance. You came up 2 seconds behind them. I mean, you're pretty close.
Yeah. American team standings. I'm claiming these as American teams. Red Bull in P4, Racing Bulls P5, tied for P5. Haas P7, Cadillac P11. But hey, it's their first year in Formula One.
By the way, they should be P10. Aston should be P11. But Checo, you get a penalty 4 weeks after it happened, and Alonso gets promoted. Whatever. It's dumb.
Switching to the soft compound. Can you hear the drums, ADUO? I mean, ADUO is so great in theory. The whole point, it's just part of this drive by Formula One, Liberty Media, the ownership, to sort of create parity, to make races where multiple teams can win, multiple drivers can win. I love it. And as you said, I mean, look, Mercedes, Kimi, 2 seconds is a lot, but 2016, Lewis was probably beating Ferrari by 20 seconds or something crazy, a second. It seemed like a second a lap on some of those races, That was crazy. So I love this drive to sort of enforce parity onto the sport. I love the concept of ADUO, but man, they kind of messed up in execution because, we saw this race. Max was going all out and Kimi just boom, it's like, sorry. But yet, according to F1 and ADUO, Mercedes gets extra money to spend to upgrade their power unit because Red Bull's is faster. And next year they get this too because it's sort of the way the rules are baked in. Mercedes will have a bit more money to spend. Ferrari will have a bit more money to spend because, Red Bull's faster. I mean, this is bullshit. They messed it up. And I'm not sure how you fix this, but I don't know. Christian Horner would know. They got rid of Christian Horner, and he would never have allowed this to happen, where Mercedes is clearly a faster car. But it's like, no. Mercedes gets more money to spend than you, Red Bull, because we've determined your power unit is faster.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not even like the power unit, and it's not even faster, right? It's just the engine's peak operating conditions are a little bit higher in the Ford than the Mercedes, right? So it's just like, it's just a weird thing that's like, you didn't really think about it, right? And think about how it would actually impact anything. It's like doing everything in a lab and you've never been in the real world before. And then turns out that thing you made in the lab isn't usable at all in the real world. Right. This is kind of the same thing. And I don't know. I get it. It's frustrating because you don't want Mercedes to just, they get more resources for development and they're already ahead. So now they're going to get more ahead. That would be going backwards. Right. Yeah. So,
which is going to happen. And I shouldn't say power unit. That's just shorthand. You're right. It's in their test of the engine. Oh, look, under these conditions, Red Bull's is faster, but this has nothing to do with aerodynamics, with chassis, power unit overall, reliability, none of that. And all of those matter.
Yeah, I mean, all of it matters. I think, if you're going to do these things by component, I think they should do it for every component. Do some kind of objective testing and settle on all these different metrics for each component and say, okay, well, here's the best team at this component, and here's how much extra you get to develop for, each of these things, whether it's your chassis, your battery, your suspension, aero components, all this stuff. At least, allow some teams to have a little bit extra for development of other things, that can help as well. I don't know.
Our dirty air segment, the Jos Verstappen problem. Now, we done been told you that Jos is a problem. And he's no longer just a problem for Christian Horner or for Red Bull. He's a problem for Max Verstappen, because where is Max going to go? Right? When we told you all these rumors, Max is going to go to McLaren. Max is going to go to Mercedes. Max can't go anywhere because Max is going to demand at least a decent car, a better than average car. Who has that? Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull. Okay, so is he going to go to Mercedes? Will he go to McLaren? Will he go to Ferrari? No, because of Jos. I mean, Jos, and look, Jos is trying to protect his son, his investment, but they got rid of Helmut, they got rid of Horner, Newey's gone. If you notice, these aren't just great F1 minds. They are sort of power centers in Red Bull. The owner is dead, Horner's gone, Helmut's gone, Newey's gone. Basically, that's Max's paddock now, which means Jos's paddock. He's not going anywhere because he will not be able to have that anywhere else.
I agree. I mean, Max could just sort of decide what he wants to do on his own, but I don't think that's really how he operates. So unless Kelly says, get the fuck out of Red Bull, I'm pretty sure he's staying there. And it's certainly something I think that Jos would push for. He likes being there and being the big guy. I think Mekis just probably leaves him alone and just goes, please don't talk to me. I just don't want to have anything to do with you. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird team now. And I think it's more of a normal team now, except for Jos hanging around. And so until Max leaves, I think leaves F1, I think he's staying at Red Bull, and Jos is staying there too. I don't expect him to go anywhere else. We've had this conversation. There's nowhere he's going to go where they're going to find everything that they want.
It's a package deal. You got Max, you got Jos, and Max is going to demand a car that's at a certain level. Maybe Aston in a couple years. Honda, let's say Honda stays in, Newey does it right. Boom, maybe. But right now, there's only 3 other teams he could go, and those 3 will not take the package deal. They'll take the Max deal, but not the package deal with Jos. Speaking of packages, you touched earlier on how we want to see what's happening in the race. And always what's happening isn't always at the very, 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 very front of the race. I mean, I visited your grandfather, and he has cable TV, and he's watching Major League Baseball, and on his one screen, there are 4 games. You can see all 4 games. It's like a little quad box, okay? He didn't do anything. He wouldn't know how to do it. That's what they're showing for. And I'm like, why can't I get this in F1? And I don't want to hear any bullshit listener. Just use the, click through and get, on board from Alonso or something. I mean, no, I can't I see 4 different angles at the same time on the same screen? I got a big ass television. I mean, just curiosity, what's happening elsewhere? I just some of this coverage, and I know that's easy. It's easy to go after the coverage. It's easy to go after Sky Sports. It's easy to go after F1 TV, but it's legitimate.
Yeah, I think live sports producers that are not American are fucking garbage. We saw that in the World Cup. You know, I say what you want, but there's only one feed that all of the broadcasters get, the world feed, and those producers are trash. You miss so much of the action because they're cutting to whoever on the sideline or in stands or whatever, going back to a replay that you've already seen 15 times, and you miss a lot. And like, I get that there are other interesting things maybe outside of the actual action that you could look at, but look, I'm watching this because I want to see what's happening on the track, everywhere on the track, as much as possible. And so, yeah, I'd like to see this. I think is why Apple TV needs to really start getting their own stuff together, because it turns out F1 TV kind of is terrible at producing this stuff. And so, I don't want to be the big, like, dumb Americans saying, it's all non-Americans. But, like, most American sporting coverage is pretty good. You see everything. They talk about everything. I know it's a little bit more difficult to, like, track, a 5-mile circuit and 22 cars somewhere on that circuit than it is one baseball field. I get that. But, like, I don't know. It just seems like we could be doing better.
It does seem like we, at minimum, quad box and, a lot more user controls. But I mean, yeah, Apple's a $1 trillion plus company with technology, with screens everywhere, sensors everywhere, cameras everywhere. Yeah, maybe they'll come up with something, because I've been a little disappointed. New topic, AI and F1, something that we've been talking about, especially over the last couple months. And I almost think we need to start documenting these AI encroachments on Formula One and on sports in general. But I think you brought this up a few weeks ago, where AI, it just sort of continues to encroach on the sport, and it gets to these points where you're like, well, okay, I guess that's acceptable, that's acceptable, that's acceptable. And then suddenly you realize, well, you've removed a lot of human element. And so they're going to have to start putting some sort of enforced human element back into the sport, whether it belongs or not. And it's funny, because about a week or so ago, I heard rumors about, they're thinking maybe we should add fuel stops, which is completely unnecessary. It's only to sort of add more human chaos to the action.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, right? I mean, the only reason that would make any sense, right, is if you're getting so much faster with less fuel on board that you would take the time to refuel during like, what does that trade-off look like in terms of time, right? And then we need to make sure that we don't just kind of allow everything to be run by AI and automation and robotics. There needs to be something else that's, keeps the sport integrity, right? And fuel stops is weird. They do it in NASCAR still, and those are kind of fun, but they got rid of it in F1 because there were too many fires. So they were like, yeah, we're going to stop doing that because things explode when you put fuel and stuff really fast. So
Across the line, that is our segment where we predict the top 5 for the next race. The next race is next week in Hungary. In Across the Line, we predict the top 5. If our driver does show up in the top 5, we get a point. If he shows up in the exact spot we selected him, we get 3 points. Patrick, what are the current standings for Across the Line?
okay, well, you have a pretty commanding lead, at least coming into this week, 39 points to my 22. But top 5 from this race in Belgium was Antonelli, Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, Piastri. Your picks were Russell, Leclerc, Hadjar, Norris, Colapinto. So you got 3 points for Leclerc and P2.
All right.
My picks were Antonelli, Hamilton, Verstappen, Piastri, Lawson.
Wow.
So I got 3 points each for Antonelli and Verstappen in first and third, respectively, and 1 point each for Hamilton and Piastri, both in the top 5, not where I selected them. So that brings you to 42 points to my 30. So a pretty good chunk in there from me.
8 is close to a record, I think.
No, that's pretty good.
So last year, Hungary, McLaren's 200th win, just behind, but well behind Ferrari. Lando won. That's when he was starting to sort of take command finally. It took him half a season, but it was Lando, Oscar, then George. And Alonso had a good race. Alonso always seems to do well at Hungaroring, because this week was piss poor. I think everybody lapped him. I think Bottas may have lapped him.
Honestly, so Aston being ahead of Cadillac in the constructor standings really just grinds my gears, because Cadillac has clearly been the better team, but it was just that weirdness of Monaco that, like, oh yeah, Aston happened into a point. So I don't know. Oh well, at least it was Alonso.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. This. I thought this was funny. I looked in Hungary 2021. I said, "Look at this, Mick Schumacher. He belongs in F1." That turned out less true. I also had predicted that Toto was going to, despite what everybody was saying, Toto was going to keep Bottas and George would be stuck at Williams. That did not turn out to be true. All right, Patrick, for Hungary 2026, who goes first?
You have first pick.
Nice. Well, I'm going with the Revenge of George. Again, I'm picking George Russell.
Dang. George. We'll see. I don't know. I guess I'll take Kimi then. I got to make up points somehow. I expect him to bring it again. We'll see if he can finish the race. Then I think I'm going to take Max. I think he's looked pretty solid. So I think, especially in qualifying, Hungary is really one of those qualifying tracks. So I feel like he'll do it. P2.
Nice. All right, well, I'm going to take Max's teammate, Hadjar, and last year's winner, Lando Norris.
Nice. Then I'm going to go with the 2 Ferraris. I'll take Charles, followed closely by Lewis.
All right, then. So I'm going to take, no one's taken Oscar yet, right? I'm going to take Oscar, and I'm going with another Red Bull. I'm going to go with Liam Lawson.
Ooh. We'll see if he finally gets those upgrades that they gave to Arvin.
Yeah.
Because he looked, Lawson just couldn't hang with Lindblad because of those upgrades, I think. But We'll see. Should be fun. Then I'm going to take their rival currently in the constructors, and I'm going to go with Gasly.
Nice. So for Hungary 2026, you have Kimi, Max, Charles, Lewis, and Pierre Gasly. I have George Russell, Isaac Hadjar, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, and Liam Lawson. Any crazy predictions, Patrick?
Well, I have a crazy prediction because I'm going to say Aston is supposedly bringing a bunch of big upgrades soon, maybe by Hungary. We're not really sure. But I expect them to at least have some pretty drastic upgrades by the end of the summer break, at which point Alonso will get a nice feel for the car. And in Madrid later this year, he's just going to go insane. He's going to just take it to everybody. He's going to pass Lewis around the outside, final lap for a spot on the podium. And the Spaniards are going to finally name a turn after Alonso like it seems every other motherfucker on the grid has something named after them already. And Fernando does not. So he's finally going to get his name on an F1 track. He'll be part of the lore now.
Nice, nice. My crazy prediction is similar to your Alonso on the podium at Madrid. And mine is a winner in a non-top 4 team in a non-rain race. So not Mercedes, not McLaren, not Red Bull, not Ferrari. And obviously would not be Williams either because they're just such garbage. I don't know what Williams. They're getting Mercedes power. Every Mercedes power unit is just great, and I don't know what they're doing at Williams. So, a winner at a race, at a non-wet race, of a non-top 4 team. I made it more and more confusing. I was spot on at the beginning. So we're gonna have a winner in a non-wet race from a non-top 4 team. All right. I want to thank you all for listening to everybody's most beloved father and son F1 podcast. It is much appreciated. And we are lights out.
See ya. Thanks for listening.
You just finished listening to Hard Compound, recorded in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and around the world.